Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the research vessel Defiance and watched the stars through the main viewing screen. The ship floated in empty space near the edge of Council territory. His crew worked quietly at their stations. Chief Engineer Lisa Rodriguez checked the engine readings. Navigation Officer Ryan Cooper studied star charts. Communications Specialist Amanda Walsh monitored radio signals from nearby systems. 50 years had passed since humans first met the Galactic Council. 50 years of being treated like children. The Council included dozens of alien species who thought they were better than humans. They gave humans the worst planets to live on. They made unfair trade deals. They acted like humans were too stupid to understand galactic politics. Jake remembered his father telling stories about the early days after first contact. Humans had been so excited to meet other intelligent life. They thought it would be wonderful to join a community of peaceful species. Instead, they found a group of bullies who saw humans as useful slaves. The Council gave humans dangerous jobs like mining asteroids and exploring dead planets. When humans complained, the Council told them to be grateful for any work at all. On the capital world of Nexus Prime, Ambassador Kate Sullivan represented human interests. She spent her days in meetings where other ambassadors ignored her or spoke to her like she was a child. The Zephyrian Empire held the most power in the Council. Their ambassador never missed a chance to remind everyone that humans were the newest and least important members. Jake received an emergency message while his ship drifted in deep space. The signal came from Earth Command. His face went pale as he read the words on his screen. Ryan noticed the change and asked what was wrong. Jake could not speak at first. He read the message again, hoping he had made a mistake. The Zephyrian Empire had attacked New Haven Colony without warning. The human settlement had 3 million people, including farmers, families, and children. Zephyrian warships appeared in orbit and began bombing civilian targets. They destroyed hospitals, schools, and homes. They targeted evacuation ships trying to escape. When human defense forces tried to fight back, the Zephyrians used weapons that turned the atmosphere itself into poison. Hundreds of thousands died in the first hour. Jake's sister Maria lived on New Haven with her husband and 2 young daughters. The message said her family was among the casualties. Jake felt something break inside his chest. Lisa saw him struggling to breathe and asked if she should take him to the medical bay. He shook his head and kept reading. Ambassador Sullivan had rushed to an emergency council session. She demanded justice for the unprovoked attack. The Zephyrian ambassador claimed humans had violated ancient territorial agreements. He said New Haven was built on land that belonged to the Zephyrian Empire according to treaties signed thousands of years before humans ever left Earth. Sullivan pointed out that humans had never seen these treaties and no one had told them about territorial restrictions. The Council voted on the matter. They decided the attack was a legitimate response to human expansion. They ordered humans to evacuate 3 more colonies to prevent future conflicts. Chancellor Vextar explained that peace required sacrifice, and humans needed to learn their place in galactic society. The other ambassadors nodded in agreement. No one mentioned the hundreds of thousands of dead humans. Jake stared at his screen in shock. Ryan asked again what was happening. Jake told his crew about the attack and the Council decision. Lisa slammed her fist on her control panel. Amanda started crying. They had all lost friends or family on New Haven. The Council treated their deaths like an accounting error. Earth Command sent new orders. All human ships were to withdraw from contested areas immediately. They were to avoid any actions that might anger the Council further. Humans were to accept the evacuation orders and hope for better treatment in the future. The orders made Jake sick to his stomach. He thought about his sister teaching her daughters to read. He remembered their last video call when the girls had shown him pictures they drew of spaceships. Maria had been so proud of their new life on New Haven. She said the planet reminded her of Earth with its blue skies and green fields. Now it was a poisoned wasteland and his family was gone. Jake made a decision that would change everything. He opened a secure communication channel and entered a code he had memorized years ago. The screen flickered and showed the face of Dr. Alex Chen. Chen looked surprised to receive the call. He asked if Jake was certain about what he was doing. Jake told him about New Haven and the Council decision. Chen's expression grew dark. The code Jake entered was for something called the Prometheus Protocol. It was a secret project that only a few humans knew about. Jake had been recruited 5 years earlier when Earth Command realized the Council would never treat humans as equals. The project had been preparing for this day. They hoped it would never come, but they knew it probably would. Chen asked if Jake understood what activating the protocol would mean. There would be no going back. Once they started down this path, humans would either win their freedom or lose everything. Jake looked at his crew. He thought about his dead sister and her children. He thought about all the humans who had died because the Council saw them as expendable. Jake confirmed the activation. Chen nodded and began typing commands into his computer. Across human space, hidden systems came online. Secret bases powered up their equipment. Ships that had been waiting in asteroid fields received new orders. After 50 years of humiliation and abuse, humanity was about to show the galaxy what they were really capable of. The crew of the Defiance watched their captain with new respect. They had always known Jake was different from other officers. Now they understood why. Lisa asked what they should do next. Jake smiled for the first time since receiving the news about New Haven. He told them they were going to remind the galaxy that humans were not victims anymore. Across the galaxy, other human crews were receiving similar messages. Years of careful planning were about to pay off. The Galactic Council had made a terrible mistake when they decided human lives did not matter. They were about to learn that pushing humanity too far came with consequences they never imagined. Dr. Alex Chen worked in a hidden laboratory deep inside an asteroid. The facility looked like an ordinary mining station from the outside. Inside it held some of the most advanced technology in human space. Chen had spent 15 years developing the Prometheus protocol. He never thought he would actually need to use it. The protocol was humanity's secret insurance policy. While the Galactic Council treated humans like primitive children, human scientists had been busy. They studied every piece of alien technology they could find. They reverse-engineered Council weapons and ships. Most importantly, they found ways to improve on alien designs using human creativity and imagination. Chen explained the situation to Captain Morrison through their secure connection. The Council species thought in rigid patterns. They followed the same technological paths their ancestors had used for thousands of years. Humans were different. They looked at problems from multiple angles. They combined ideas in ways that seemed impossible to other species. While the Council had been dismissing humans as backward savages, human engineers had been making breakthrough discoveries. They developed quantum computers that could process information faster than anything the galaxy had ever seen. They created artificial intelligence systems that could learn and adapt in real time. They built weapons and defenses that worked in ways Council science said were impossible. Chen told Morrison about the hidden fleet. For 20 years, human shipyards had been secretly building warships in remote locations. They used asteroid bases and abandoned star systems where Council patrols never went. The ships incorporated stealth technology that made them invisible to alien sensors. Their weapons could punch through any known shield system. Admiral Grace Taylor commanded the Shadow Fleet from her flagship Retribution. She was one of the few people who knew the full scope of the Prometheus protocol. Taylor had fought in several small conflicts with alien pirates and smugglers. She understood that humans needed to be ready for war even while they hoped for peace. The hidden ships were scattered across dozens of systems. Each vessel carried a crew trained for this moment. They had practiced battle scenarios for years. Their weapons systems used adaptive targeting that could analyze enemy defenses and adjust tactics automatically. Most importantly, their artificial intelligence networks could share information instantly across the entire fleet. Chen activated the protocol from his asteroid laboratory. Coded signals went out to every human military installation in the galaxy. Sleeping weapon systems came online. Hidden bases began preparing for war. Crews that had been waiting for years finally received their orders. The time for hiding was over. Morrison received new coordinates and instructions. His ship, the Defiance, was to rendezvous with Admiral Taylor's fleet. Other human vessels were converging on predetermined locations. The first targets would be Zephyrian military bases. The aliens who had destroyed New Haven would learn that actions had consequences. The attack plan was simple and devastating. 7 Zephyrian installations would be hit simultaneously. The strikes would destroy military assets while avoiding civilian casualties. Humans wanted to send a message, not commit genocide. They would show the galaxy that humanity could be merciful, even while demonstrating superior firepower. Admiral Taylor briefed her fleet commanders through encrypted channels. The ships moved into position using routes that avoided Council patrol areas. Their stealth systems made them invisible to enemy scanners. Zephyrian forces had no idea death was approaching their bases. The first target was a weapons research facility orbiting a gas giant. Human ships dropped out of hyperspace and immediately opened fire. Zephyrian defenders never had time to react. Their shields collapsed under weapons fire that seemed to come from nowhere. Emergency alerts went out, but help was too far away to matter. At the second target, human forces used electronic warfare to disable Zephyrian systems. The alien computers crashed as human artificial intelligence invaded their networks. Weapons platforms turned offline. Communication arrays went silent. Defense satellites exploded as their own power systems overloaded. The third attack showed human precision and restraint. A Zephyrian naval base housed both military and civilian personnel. Human forces carefully targeted only the warships and weapon storage areas. They left the civilian quarters and medical facilities untouched. Evacuation warnings gave alien families time to reach safety. Across Zephyrian space, the pattern repeated. Military assets vanished under precise human fire. Civilian areas remained untouched. The message was clear to anyone paying attention. Humans could destroy whatever they wanted. They chose to limit their attacks to military targets because they were better than their enemies. News of the attack spread quickly through galactic communication networks. Council members had trouble believing the reports. Humans were supposed to be technologically inferior. Their weapons should not have been able to penetrate Zephyrian defenses. Their ships should have been detected long before reaching their targets. Emperor Zaxxon of the Zephyrian Empire demanded an immediate council session. He accused humans of using forbidden weapons and violating interstellar law. Ambassador Sullivan calmly pointed out that the same laws had not protected New Haven. She presented evidence of Zephyrian war crimes, including video footage of attacks on civilian targets. The council chamber erupted in arguments. Some species demanded harsh punishment for human aggression. Others questioned why the Zephyrians had been allowed to attack New Haven without consequences. A few ambassadors quietly wondered if they had underestimated human capabilities. Admiral Taylor's fleet regrouped in deep space. The first phase of operations had been a complete success. Human forces had demonstrated technological superiority while maintaining moral authority. They had shown restraint that their enemies lacked. Now they waited to see how the Council would respond. Morrison studied damage reports from the Zephyrian attacks. Human weapons had performed better than expected. Enemy shields had provided no protection against human particle beams. Alien computer systems had been helpless against human artificial intelligence. Most importantly, no human lives had been lost in the operations. Dr. Chen monitored galactic news networks from his hidden laboratory. The attacks had achieved their intended psychological impact. Other species were asking questions about human technology. The Council's image of human inferiority was cracking. Some alien governments were privately reaching out to human representatives. The Prometheus Protocol had moved into its second phase. Hidden manufacturing facilities increased production of weapons and ships. Recruitment centers activated across human space. Volunteers lined up to join the war effort. After 50 years of humiliation, humanity was finally fighting back, and they were winning. Chancellor Vextar called an emergency session of the Galactic Council. The chamber filled with angry voices as ambassadors argued about the human attacks. The Zephyrian representative demanded immediate military action. Emperor Zaxxon appeared on the main screen looking furious. He claimed that humans had committed acts of terrorism against peaceful installations. Ambassador Sullivan stood calmly at the human podium. She listened to the accusations without changing expression. When the chamber finally quieted, she began to speak. Her voice carried clearly to every seat in the vast hall. She reminded the council that humans had requested justice for New Haven through proper diplomatic channels. The council had ignored human suffering and dismissed human deaths as acceptable losses. Sullivan presented video evidence from New Haven, showing Zephyrian forces deliberately targeting schools and hospitals. She showed images of children killed while trying to evacuate. The chamber fell silent as the truth of Zephyrian war crimes became undeniable. Chancellor Vextar tried to maintain order, but several ambassadors began shouting. Some demanded to know why the Zephyrians had been allowed to attack civilians without punishment. Others accused humans of lying about their technological capabilities. The careful diplomatic facade of the Council cracked under the pressure of revealed truths. Admiral Corthan commanded the Council's combined fleet. He was a veteran of dozens of campaigns against rebellious species. In his experience, overwhelming force quickly crushed any resistance. He assembled the largest military force in galactic history to deal with the human problem. 5,000 warships gathered at the Council's main naval base. Corthan boasted to his officers that humans would learn their place within days. He planned to destroy every human military vessel and occupy Earth itself. The primitive species would serve as an example to other potential rebels. No one would dare challenge Council authority after seeing what happened to humans who forgot their position. The massive Council fleet jumped into hyperspace, heading for human territory. Their destination was the Wolf 3 M59 system, where intelligence reports suggested human forces were gathering. Corthan expected to find a few dozen desperate ships trying to make a final stand. Instead, he would encounter something that would change galactic history forever. Admiral Taylor waited in deep space with her hidden fleet. Sensors detected the Council armada while it was still hours away from the battle zone. The human ships remained invisible using stealth technology that bent light and absorbed scanning beams. Taylor studied the approaching enemy force and smiled grimly. The Council had made exactly the mistake she hoped for. Captain Morrison commanded the Defiance as part of Taylor's battle group. His crew prepared for combat with calm efficiency. Lisa Rodriguez fine-tuned the engines for maximum performance. Ryan Cooper plotted escape routes and attack vectors. Amanda Walsh monitored enemy communications and prepared electronic warfare systems. The Council fleet dropped out of hyperspace, expecting to find humans cowering in defensive positions. Instead, their sensors detected nothing. Admiral Corthan ordered his ships to spread out and search for the enemy. He assumed human vessels were hiding behind asteroids or small moons. His confidence remained unshaken despite the lack of visible targets. Taylor gave the attack signal and space erupted in brilliant weapon fire. Human ships appeared from nowhere as their stealth systems deactivated. Council vessels found themselves surrounded by enemies they had never seen coming. The first wave of human attacks crippled dozens of alien warships before their crews could react. Human weapons sliced through Council shields like they were made of paper. Alien armor provided no protection against particle beams that adapted their frequency in real time. Council commanders screamed orders at gunners who could not lock onto human ships. The aliens followed rigid tactical patterns while humans improvised and adapted constantly. Morrison led his ship into the heart of the enemy formation. The Defiance danced between Council vessels while its weapons picked apart alien systems. Lisa's engines responded instantly to course changes. Ryan's navigation found weaknesses in enemy formations. Amanda's electronic warfare turned alien computers against their own ships. The most shocking moment came when human forces began capturing Council vessels instead of destroying them. Boarding parties used advanced suits that protected them from alien weapons. They moved through enemy ships with impossible speed and precision. Council crews found themselves prisoners before they understood what was happening. Admiral Corthan watched his fleet falling apart around him. Human ships moved in ways that violated everything he knew about space combat. They accelerated and turned faster than physics should allow. Their weapons hit targets at impossible ranges. Most disturbing of all, they seemed to anticipate every move his forces made. Morrison personally led a boarding action against Corthan's flagship. His team cut through the alien ship's defenses like they were not there. Council Marines tried to stop the humans but found themselves facing soldiers who moved like lightning and shot with perfect accuracy. The bridge fell within minutes of the humans boarding. Corthan found himself face to face with the human captain who had captured his ship. He expected to be executed or tortured. Instead, Morrison offered him medical attention for wounds suffered during the battle. The human explained that prisoners would be treated according to galactic law, even though the Council had ignored those same laws at New Haven. The battle lasted only 3 hours, but its impact would be felt for generations. The mighty Council fleet limped away in defeat, leaving behind hundreds of captured vessels and thousands of prisoners. Human forces suffered minimal casualties while inflicting devastating losses on their enemies. The impossible had happened and everyone knew it. News of the human victory spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Species that had been oppressed by the Council began to hope for change. Pirates and rebels who had hidden in the outer systems started making plans. Even within Council member worlds, voices began questioning their government's policies. Taylor regrouped her forces and prepared for the next phase of operations. The Council would undoubtedly try again with even larger forces, but the psychological damage was already done. Humans had proven they were not the primitive species everyone believed them to be. They had shown mercy to defeated enemies and restraint in victory. Morrison stood on his bridge looking at the captured Council ships. His crew worked to process thousands of alien prisoners. Every captive would be fed, clothed, and given medical care. They would be treated better than humans had ever been treated by the Council. The moral high ground was as important as technological superiority. In the Council chamber on Nexus Prime, emergency sessions continued around the clock. Some ambassadors demanded immediate negotiations with human representatives. Others called for total war until humanity was exterminated. The unity that had held the Council together for millennia began to crack under the pressure of unexpected defeat. Ambassador Sullivan received new instructions from Earth. Humanity was ready to talk, but only from a position of strength. The days of accepting Council dictates were over. If the aliens wanted peace, they would have to treat humans as equals. If they preferred war, humanity had proven it could fight and win. The news of humanity's victory at Wolf 359 traveled through galactic communication networks faster than anyone expected. On dozens of worlds across the galaxy, people watched video recordings of the battle. They saw massive Council warships falling to human forces. They watched alien admirals surrendering to human captains. Most importantly, they saw humans treating prisoners with dignity and respect. The Thylorian Collective had been under Council pressure for decades. Their peaceful nature made them easy targets for aggressive species who wanted their resources. Thylorian Ambassador Genta watched the battle recordings with growing excitement. She immediately sent a secret message to human representatives offering alliance and mutual protection. Similar messages arrived from species across the galaxy. The Corsairs had always been pirates and rebels who refused Council authority. Their leader, Captain Varkesh, was impressed by human tactical skills. He proposed sharing information about Council weaknesses in exchange for human military technology. Even traditional Council allies began asking quiet questions about human intentions. Chancellor Vextar faced the worst crisis in Council history. Member species demanded explanations for the catastrophic defeat. Intelligence reports revealed that human technology was decades ahead of Council estimates. Worse still, humans had been hiding their capabilities for years, while Council leaders dismissed them as primitive savages. Dr. Miranda Brooks worked at a human research station studying alien biology. She had spent years documenting Council war crimes and violations of galactic law. After the victory at Wolf 359, she released her findings to every news network in known space. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. Brooks showed that the Council had been lying about human expansion into contested territory. The treaties they claimed humans had violated did not actually exist. The attack on New Haven had been planned months in advance as a way to intimidate other species. Thousands of innocent humans had died to send a political message. Public opinion across the galaxy began shifting toward humanity. Council propaganda had painted humans as dangerous expansionists who threatened galactic peace. The truth revealed a species that defended itself only when attacked and showed mercy, even to enemies who had murdered civilians. The contrast was stark and impossible to ignore. Ambassador Sullivan found herself dealing with dozens of secret communications from species wanting to establish relations with humanity. Some offered trade agreements. Others proposed military alliances. A few suggested creating an alternative to the Council, where all species would have equal representation. Admiral Taylor received intelligence reports showing Council forces massing for another attack. This time they planned to use banned weapons, including planet-killing devices. The aliens were so desperate to defeat humanity that they were willing to break their own laws. Taylor knew humans needed to act before the Council could deploy such terrible weapons. Human forces launched preemptive strikes against Council weapon stockpiles. They destroyed facilities that manufactured illegal armaments. They captured storage depots filled with banned biological agents. Each attack was surgical and precise, leaving only military targets destroyed while civilian areas remained untouched. Captain Morrison led raids on secret council bases where alien scientists were developing new ways to kill humans. His boarding teams found laboratories filled with diseases designed to target human biology specifically. They discovered plans to poison Earth's atmosphere and sterilize human colonies. The evidence of genocidal intent shocked even veteran soldiers. The captured alien scientists were questioned about their work. Many admitted they had been ordered to create weapons that would eliminate humanity completely. Council leaders had decided that coexistence with humans was impossible. They planned to solve the human problem through extermination rather than negotiation. Sullivan presented this evidence to galactic news networks and remaining neutral governments. The revelation that the Council planned genocide against an entire species caused massive protests on dozens of worlds. Even Council member species began questioning whether their governments represented their values. The hegemony faced internal rebellion as their own citizens demanded answers. Why were their leaders supporting genocide against a species that had shown remarkable restraint in victory? Peace demonstrations erupted on the hegemony homeworld. Similar protests spread to other council territories as people realized their governments were planning mass murder. Emperor Zaxhan of the Zephyrian Empire found his own military officers refusing orders. Several Zephyrian commanders surrendered their ships to human forces rather than participate in planned atrocities. They had seen how humans treated prisoners and preferred captivity under honorable enemies to serving leaders who planned genocide. Admiral Taylor prepared humanity's final ultimatum to the Galactic Council. Human forces now controlled key strategic positions throughout Council space. They had captured enough alien technology to understand every Council weapon system. Most importantly, they had proof of the Council's genocidal intentions that no amount of propaganda could discredit. The ultimatum was simple and non-negotiable. The Council would recognize human territorial sovereignty and pay reparations for New Haven. They would prosecute war criminals responsible for attacking civilians. Most importantly, they would restructure galactic government to include genuine representation for all species rather than domination by the strongest. Morrison delivered the ultimatum personally to Chancellor Vexistar. He arrived at Nexus Prime with a small escort of human ships that easily penetrated Council defenses. The demonstration of human capabilities was intentional and effective. Vextar realized that humans could have destroyed the capital world if they chose to do so. The Chancellor asked why humans were offering negotiations instead of simply conquering the galaxy. Morrison explained that humanity wanted justice, not empire. They had fought to defend themselves and their values, not to become the next galactic oppressors. The goal was creating a better system where all species could thrive in peace. Vextar stared at the human captain with new understanding. Every other species that had gained military superiority had used it to dominate others. Humans had achieved overwhelming advantage and were offering to share power instead. The concept was so foreign to Council thinking that many alien leaders could not comprehend it. Word of the human ultimatum spread across the galaxy within hours. Species that had been planning to ally with humanity became even more eager to join them. Council members who had been wavering finally broke ranks and announced their support for human demands. The old order was crumbling and something new was being born. Sullivan prepared for the most important diplomatic session in galactic history. Humanity would either achieve the peaceful coexistence they had always wanted, or face a war that would determine the fate of every intelligent species in the galaxy. The stakes could not be higher, and the whole universe was watching. The Great Assembly convened on the neutral world of Haven's Rest. Representatives from every known species gathered to witness the transformation of galactic civilization. The old council chamber on Nexus Prime had been abandoned as a symbol of failed leadership. This new meeting place was designed to give every species equal voice, regardless of military power or economic influence. Chancellor Vextar stood before the assembly and formally dissolved the Galactic Council. His words were broadcast across the galaxy as billions of beings watched history unfold. The hegemony and other founding species relinquished their special privileges. For the first time in galactic history, no single group would dominate interstellar politics. Ambassador Sullivan presented humanity's vision for the new galactic government. Every species would have representation proportional to their population, rather than their military strength. Decisions would require consensus among multiple species, rather than dictates from the powerful. Most importantly, the new government would be bound by laws that applied equally to everyone. Dr. Alex Chen revealed the scientific advances that had made human victory possible. He explained how human researchers had combined alien technologies in ways their original creators never imagined. The key was human creativity and willingness to think beyond traditional boundaries. Chen offered to share these innovations with all species willing to join the new galactic community. The technology-sharing agreements revolutionized life for species across the galaxy. Human medical advances cured diseases that had plagued alien populations for millennia. Human engineering techniques allowed the construction of safer and more efficient spacecraft. Most importantly, human artificial intelligence helped other species solve problems they had considered impossible. Captain Morrison found himself working alongside former enemies to design the new government structure. Zephyrian officers who had fought against humanity at Wolf 359 now served on joint committees planning interspecies cooperation. The transformation was remarkable to witness as old. Hatred gave way to mutual respect. Emperor Zaxhan personally apologized to human representatives for the attack on New Haven. His empire agreed to pay reparations to the families of victims and to prosecute the military leaders responsible for war crimes. The Zephyrians also offered to help rebuild the destroyed colony using their own resources and labor. Admiral Taylor was elected to lead the new Galactic Defense Force. Her first act was to integrate human and alien personnel into mixed crews. Former enemies learned to work together as they discovered their common goals of protecting innocent life and maintaining peace. The old patterns of species-based discrimination began breaking down. Chief Engineer Lisa Rodriguez led teams that rebuilt New Haven as a symbol of reconciliation. The new colony featured architecture from dozens of species working in harmony. Zephyrian gardens grew alongside human farms. Thylorian meditation centers neighbored Corsair training facilities. The planet became a living demonstration of what cooperation could achieve. The first generation of children born under the new galactic order grew up learning about multiple species and cultures. Human children played with Zephyrian youngsters who had been taught to hate them just years before. These children would never know the prejudices and fears that had divided their parents' generation. Morrison was promoted to admiral and given command of the Exploration Division. His mission was to seek out new species and invite them to join the galactic community as equals. The old council had conquered or enslaved species they encountered. Humanity's approach was to offer friendship and mutual benefit instead. Amanda Walsh established the new galactic communication network that allowed all species to share information freely. The old council had controlled news and propaganda to maintain their power. The new system was designed to be open and transparent, so that no government could hide the truth from their people. Ryan Cooper led scientific expeditions to explore regions of space that had been forbidden under council rule. These missions discovered new worlds suitable for colonization and encountered friendly species who had hidden from council aggression. The galaxy was larger and more diverse than anyone had realized. Dr. Miranda Brooks established the Galactic Justice Commission to investigate past crimes and prevent future atrocities. Her teams documented the truth about council oppression and helped species recover from decades of abuse. The Commission's work ensured that the mistakes of the past would not be repeated. The economic benefits of cooperation became obvious within months of the new government's formation. Trade increased dramatically as artificial barriers between species were removed. Scientific collaboration led to breakthrough discoveries that benefited everyone. The galaxy became more prosperous than it had ever been under council rule. Sullivan was elected as the first Secretary General of the United Galactic Assembly. She worked tirelessly to build trust between former enemies and create institutions that would preserve peace for future generations. Her leadership demonstrated that diplomacy backed by strength could accomplish what war alone never could. The memorial to New Haven's victims was built on Earth, where billions of beings from across the galaxy came to pay their respects. The monument bore the names of every person killed in the attack along with a simple inscription: "They died so that others might live free." The memorial became a pilgrimage site for those seeking to understand the cost of oppression. 5 years after the Battle of Wolf 359, the galaxy was transformed beyond recognition. War between major powers had become unthinkable. Cooperation replaced competition as the driving force of interstellar relations. Species that had been enemies for millennia worked together to explore new frontiers and solve common problems. Morrison stood on the observation deck of his flagship watching ships from dozens of species working together to construct a new space station. Human vessels labored alongside Zephyrian cruisers and Thylorian science ships. The sight would have been impossible just a few years earlier, but now it was becoming commonplace. The children of New Haven played in the rebuilt colony's parks while their parents worked in integrated communities that included beings from across the galaxy. The poison had been cleansed from the atmosphere and the scars of war were healing. New life grew where death had once reigned supreme. Humanity's retaliation had indeed sent shockwaves through the Galactic Council, but not in the way anyone expected. Instead of spreading destruction, it had planted seeds of transformation that grew into a better future for all intelligent life. The galaxy learned that true strength came not from the power to destroy, but from the wisdom to build something worth preserving. The story of humanity's rise from oppressed species to galactic leaders became legend. But the most important lesson was not about human superiority. It was about the possibility of change and the power of standing up for what was right, even when the odds seemed impossible. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly what it needed.